Wonderful.
That's good.
Yes, maybe yours there.
Terrific and serving.
Wow, very great.
Yes.
As I've introduced, we have really seen so many youth be involved in crimes, and this is something that has been escalating for so much time, and we have seen so much participation of the youth, whether being involved or being influenced to get involved in these crimes. So I want us to first understand where the problem could be coming from, or what are the types of crimes, the kinds of crimes these youth have been involved in.
Thank you once more for bringing me to Family TV.
Oh yes, you're welcome.
You know, people tend to fail to understand what a family is. A family is a gathering of people who have affection to each other in mutual love, mutual respect, and especially that of raising up the young ones. In a family is where you find a father, a mother, children. That is for a nuclear family. And in the context of African traditional society is where you find an extended form of family, where you have the auntie, the grandfather, the grandmother, other relatives, all of them in a family. And therefore, it becomes a ground of doing four things. It is the fecundity, it is the basis of unity. And if you want to see somebody who has the value of a family in a public office, his or her communication, his or her respect. Because a family grooms, a family protects, a family shares values of respect, of love, of work, of unity, of humility, of leadership. And that's what a family does. Minus that, you realize things fall apart. As Chinua Achebe was reflecting in the community of Umofia at that time. So today, we are seeing that loss of family and family value. It was very rare. You see, in African concepts, even when you are a passerby, you would be able to greet people. And if they are on a communal lunch or meal, they would even tell you in my Lusoga, Mona tuke bulungi. And if you are hungry, you branch, and they treat you so. If you are moving on the road and you are thirsty, you branch to somebody's home. They give you water, and beyond what you expect, what you sought for. If there is fene, they give you. If there is sugar cane, they give you. So that by the time you walk, you know, that is the time when there was life, remaining value for life. And the apex of this is that even when you got tired and you failed to reach where you are going, and you branch to somebody's home, he would welcome you, allow you to have a night, and then spend. All of these we are talking about are all things fall apart. And that's why you see, I don't know whether, you know, you may be in this magnificent and you don't walk downtown. But if you walk downtown, on the streets of Kampala here, on Ben Konka Street, on Rumo Street, on Namirembe Road, even in the gardens, even here, you find youth sleeping there. Now, where are they gaining the values in a family? Such youth grow up with very hard hearts. they have no value for life of any person except survival for the fittest.
True.
Except on seeing how they can fend themselves. So we are seeing that as a family value disintegrate because of a number of factors that I'll be able to hint about. Certain things are equally affecting some of us who tend to look at them aloof. And that is one of the biggest problems is insecurity.
Okay.
Insecurity. As the family disintegrates, insecurity is bearing a toll on our own lives. Today is where we are seeing many men, many women wanting to produce, but they don't want to look after children. We are seeing many old people wanting to be called grandfather, grandmother, but they don't want to nurture. We are seeing that a homestead which would be a collection center of members, both the nuclear and extended, is no longer there. People are now hiring hotels. They are hiring gardens. They are hiring so many funny recreation, whatever. So because of that kind of upset, misinterpretation of things, there is something we are missing and therefore bearing toll on insecurity.
Okay.
Now, you asked a fundamental question. What is causing all of this? The biggest challenge is how you and me, because I'm talking to you, you look to be very attentive on when I'm talking, but how you are perceiving what I mean by a family. Because, you know, we have a generation gap. The time you grew up is not the time I grew up.
Sure.
You are the .com. For me, I am of the BBC. When you talk about BBC, we are referring to born before computer. You are the people in the era of born after computer. So, what is happening? One, the biggest influence on some of these issues are about 7 issues. One is the influence of the media. Okay. Media is very good. Please don't misinterpret me. Media is very good because this is the channel through which I'm even communicating to you. It's extremely good. But misuse is my emphasis in this matter. So media is influencing. You see, the way we tend to look at what we call values, the way we tend to look at what we call a relationship, the way we tend to look at what we call a family, in the context of Africa, in the context of Europe, in the context of Asia, in context of the Negro and the like, is totally different. But all of these have a bearing through the media, especially social media. And the unregulated media and unregulated consumption has a toll on the lifestyle of most youth. That's why you realize that a few months ago when we had GZ, was it GZ? Generation Z, that thing of yours,
yes,
where some of you were wishing us away as if this country belongs to you only. You forget that there is no country that can exist without old men. So when there was that influence, you realize that this was a Western-born issue, but you see how it influenced and penetrated East Africa. It even came here. And who are those? You're the .com who are there shouting. So, media and consumption. 2, media at the same time is used for mobilization and demobilization. It is used for sharing good and bad. So you realize that you can imagine that some of the people, especially the youth who are involved in crime, design their app on which they can be able to communicate their modus operandi in committing crime. And that is how you realize that somehow they tend to challenge us. They don't beat us, they challenge us on some of these crime spot areas, especially on Northern Bypass, because of the apps which they use on social media platform. The other issue which I've talked about is lack of parental guidance. The other one is peer group influence, like you have mentioned. The other is attitudinal. You know, the Baganda have a saying, echikula amangu, chifa amangu. But the saying currently of the youth, kagwirawo, kagwirawo, mfunirawo. Now, when you go in the mentality of kagwirawo, mfunirawo, that is the reason why you see even people are talking about deal. Deal. What is a deal? A deal in business could be something for gaining maybe profit and the like. But these are people who tend to use some terms, some of those terms for committing crime. A deal. Mfunira muwa. So then the level of greed. I talked about attitude. Some of our youth don't want to work, but they want to eat.
Yes.
They want to look decent. They want good cars, do whatever. But the question is, some of you are looking at me, and maybe you are even admiring the way I am, but ask yourself, how has Muleterwa reached where he is? Was it through quick means? If it was for quick means, I would be dead. But persistent resilience, commitment. The loss of the conscience of shame. Kino chenkola chimpactinga kwa kuchi. Inze, let me tell you, if you want to embarrass me, and you want to touch me, look at three things from me. One, I don't want to bring any embarrassment to my parents.
Okay.
Nothing. You say, Muleterwa is a thief? I don't want to have any embarrassment to my parents. Two, I don't want to have an embarrassment to my family. How does my wife look at me? How do my children look at me? How do those friends look at me? And lastly, my religion.
Okay.
How about others who are looking at me? Is it the same? You realize that we go fill churches, fill places of worship. Stealing starts at the doorsteps. Phone snatchers start from, you have gone to pray, and your other colleague has gone. Why do you end up grabbing a phone from the church, from places of worship? Today is a Friday, you'll hear, even at the mosque, somebody who has gone to pray carries away all the shoes of other people who have gone. So what is that? So this is a bit threatening.
Now,
and if we don't become serious, we are losing out on society.
Okay. You did talk about, you started very well with family. What do you think is the role of the family in shaping someone so that in the near future they do not become people involved in crimes?
Before I go back to that issue, why is this a very serious? What is the magnitude of the problem we are talking about? We are talking about a problem of youth between the ages. You know, by the way, by law, by our law, a child below 12 years is not criminally liable.
Okay.
And therefore you cannot be able to take any child of that nature. But here we are having children who are being trained, who are being shaped by their own parents to go and steal as old as 8 years, as old as 10 years, as old as 11 years. So these are kind of children who are committing crime. And by law, it is the parent who has a bearing on that. Now, our law states that you are criminally liable as long as you are the age of 12 and above. Okay. So a child is one who is between the age 0 and age 18. So that is a child. And when you reach 12, you are criminally liable. But you cannot be taken to these other ordinary criminal courts where you and me can be charged. You are taken to a grade 2 magistrate's court because by virtue of your growth, it is perceived that such a person should not be exposed to the rigorous legal challenges. So As a result of that, you realize that between the ages of 12 and 30 are mostly our customers in terms of arrests. In places like Chira on Northern Bypass, places where we have some of these slum environment, places where we can even have these street children, because some of them have been enticed to getting involved in that. So we are looking at a percentage of around 70% of the youth who are misguided, getting involved in crime. And that's why they are going as far as committing capital offenses. Now, to get back to your question, the role of a family.
Yes.
The family plays a very, very big role. My brother, my son, you out there who are looking at me, old men, women, it is not your role. You see, by the way, we have a challenge. People producing and saying, I'm a government. Yes, that is good, because by law we are supposed to protect them. We are supposed to provide certain services to them. But let me ask you, as you were producing, did you ask for permission from government? That please, I am producing, allow me, Mr. Government, produce for you? Because there was even one man who came with 35 children, 18 children, 18 children, matching them to police here at CPS. Abana banemerede government munyambe. Naye, you know, there is even a funny scenario. The men, you know, there is, some of these Chiganda sayings are terrible. Omusajja tabalirwa nzaalo, gwana tabalirwa nzaalo. Nga tolina buvunaanyizibwa okusobola kulabirira abaana. Omusajja tabalirwa nzaalo. So that is the level at which some of us tend to abuse this. Now, biblically or religiously, a child is a gift from God. And therefore, true family values can be reflected in the way Jesus Christ was raised up by Joseph and Mary. You saw, as this child boy was born, he was taken even to the temple for dedication. He was nurtured into values of work, into values of respect, into values of humility. So that is the first family which must really inspire us, glorify us, that as we tend to believe in the desire to produce, let's be reflective of Mary, Mother Mary, and Joseph with his son, Jesus. What did he do? You know, sometimes people tend to say, I can only preach, I can only preach. But Jesus, before he preached, was a carpenter.
Yeah, true.
I need whoever is out there who wants to preach without working to challenge me. Jesus was a carpenter. Where did he learn this from? The family. Which family? Joseph and Mother Mary. At the age of his season of 30, he sought to be independent and therefore started on the spiritual mission. How many of us are doing that? In the very Bible, in Paul's letter to the Galatians, says with faith alone is not enough without love. In James's letter, action without faith is as good as dead. He's all telling us that we must accept, whereas you have faith, whereas you have love, it must be justified with action. And the action he's talking about is to work. my youth, all who are out there, that is if you are sparing time to view me on this program, can we take on this and embrace it? Because it is a virtue. It is a both God-given and a blessing when you work. Many of the youth we are talking about don't want to work, but they want to eat.
Yes.
But the Baganda have a saying, buli mulimo n'empera zaago. Bw'obba ngwala. When you steal, be ready to suffer from ngwala. So this is how important a family is in as far as. Now, in the context of African society, it is the basis of unity. It is the basis of continuity of life from one generation to another. Succession stories don't begin from the streets. They begin in the family. Because when you produce as a father and mother, you begin saying, ha, uno mwana, jakubera muzira, jakubera nganzi. And then you, how no zimba. Now, when you produce and leave them on the streets here, what values are you showing in them? What is it? So that is how important. Now, any gap between parenting and the fatherhood is where now you realize some of these youths getting involved in criminality.
How about unemployment that you have hit on a little bit, but of course you understand an idle mind is the devil's workshop. How do you think unemployment also is also bringing in these youth into crimes?
Yes. First of all, I want to bring this story of unemployment from the African context of view before we look at the European context of view. Maybe before that, who is Muleterwa? You know, you are looking at Muleterwa. I was born from the poorest family in Busoga there. My father, my mother, my parents were very, very poor. Very poor. And therefore, even survival was at its competitive end. And there were many children in the family. My father was a catechist who was always going for church work. And therefore, we're around 9, 10 who were looking at one hand, and that is that of motherhood, to look after us. So, what to eat was at the extreme end of competition. But what happened? 1, patience. 2, resilience. 3, when you have a committed mother or parent, he will always give you a way through, a breakthrough. Even when we lacked the basics, our mother always brought in success stories. She drew on model stories. You see such a family, you see such a man, you see this, I want you to be like this. And she brings the fene to you. Now, when you could think of, say, but there are others who are doing better than me by either not doing this, I think let me also go and steal. When you reflect on the story your mother has told you, you end up saying, no. Now, this makes you right from childbirth, from childhood, to appreciate work, to despise, not to despise anything that comes your way. At my level of being a commissioner and head of community policy, I can do any work.
Wow.
Why? I grew up not despising anything. And before I was a policeman, what was I? I began as a casual worker. I dug for survival to supplement on what my mother was always bringing, and I equally encouraged my siblings to do the same. So when now time came for studies, I would learn that what I've saved from this casual work, I mean the gains from casual work, I divide it up. One to attribute to books, another one for survival, another one for transport, another one for clothing. So that made me become responsible and responsive, not to despise anything in childhood.
I think that is going to take us to the break, and then when we return immediately, we start from there and make sure that you people out there can get the sense of not despising work and then going on street to be unemployed, which later leads to crime. So a very short break and return with more.
Issues at hand, powered by
Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe. Comfort and luxury at its best.
This is Church of Uganda Family TV. Enriching lives. Regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission. This is Church of Uganda Family TV. Enriching lives. Regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission. Issues at hand, powered by
Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe. Comfort and luxury at its best.
Oh yes, you are still watching Issues at Hand, and remember we are powered by Protea Hotel by Marriott in Entebbe. So here with me is Anatooli Muleterwa, and he is telling us matters that are very, very, very vital. And one of the key highlights so far is not despising any work. And where did that come from? It came from an aspect that we have so many crimes that are being caused by youth who are unemployed, but is the unemployment being brought in by themselves, or it is other factors? So, Afand, I want you to shed light for us on this. Those who claim that they are unemployed, is it true that they are unemployed, or it is just a mindset in themselves?
Yeah, thank you. So I was talking about the issue of work. Work has four key purposes. And therefore, when you are all out there, don't look at quick gains in work. Okay. Look for these values in work. One, as I work, do I gain social connection? Social connection. Because that strategic connection with the people will make you gain or even attain your vision as you become more tolerant, and as people who are more experienced, who are more knowledgeable, get in contact with you. The other issue is that as you work, you are learning and gaining skills. And therefore, some of these things that you deal with may not be. But then let me tell you, all people who go to universities go to attain qualifications, but they don't attain money from there. The only place where you can gain, they even don't gain even some of these things. They gain them from workplaces. So the second issue is learning and gaining skills. The third one is exposure and experience. These are things that you cannot gain from anywhere. What does exposure do for you? As you get exposed, you can think of alternative. That is, if where your workplace is not really giving you what you can say, okay, let me start up my own. But this comes from being exposed to something within the setting. The other one is, the last one is that of making money. But some of the youths we are looking at money. Personally, I began going into the money economy around 1995. Because all along before that, I was trying to look at who matters, whom do I connect to. So I did not gain formal employment immediately. I started with 1, felling of timber. 2, I went into private business of making my own school, and I taught. I came to this as a result of getting exposure. From making my own school, I was exposed. I was exposed to various people who matter in our government.
Okay.
And that's how I made it. As a result of that, four jobs came my way. Four more jobs came my way. One is going to become a lecturer in Nagulu University.
Wow.
In 1997. 2, it was 2005. 2, in becoming a hospital administrator.
Okay.
3, becoming a clerk. The 4th one, in 2007, is becoming a policeman. And this is what I am. So, if I had resorted to this business of self-consolation, this business of tewali mirimo, yes, opportunity meets those who are ready and prepared. How prepared are you? How resilient are you? Sometimes some of the youth we are talking about are youth who lack 1, patience. You cannot trust them. Many of the youth cannot be trusted. They can either do 2 things. If you tell him, please make a budget for what you want, he will inflate more than what you expect of what you can give, or even more than what you anticipate. You tell him, please make a budget, I want you to have a startup of business. He will give you, assuming he will give you a budget of close to 100 million. Maybe in your view, you thought something will be of 20 million. Let me give him. He goes too colossal. 2, you trust him and say, you run my business. He'll begin despising. Look at this business. Look at this. Oh, no. I studied. Yes, I studied. I had my first degree, bachelor, in 1999, 2000. 2001, I enrolled for a master's, and I made it by 2004. 4 more jobs came my way. From 2004, 2005, 2006, 2007. Ask yourself, what was Muleterwa doing? So, it is true that jobs may be challenging, formal, but not all jobs within our communities. There are some of these jobs which we tend to despise. Being a rider, border rider, being a taxi conductor in a taxi, being a tuk-tuk rider. But do you know that some of those jobs, people are getting more money than you can expect of in an office.
Yeah.
And if you started on with your tukutuku slowly, you'd even become a billionaire in the course of event. We have seen so many. Let's look at both at the international scale and even in our whatever. Give me, within the context of Uganda, give me the richest man in Uganda who has ever attained a degree. The richest in Uganda. So how did he begin? If there was unemployment, unemployment is a perception of our own mind. How do you want to carry on life from one point to another? Definitely there are some of those people with a mind of defeatism. They are always defeated. You know, we have two categories of people. We have those who are risk averse and risk takers. Risk averse people are always permissive. They are always submissive. They want to be under other people, and they will always accept anything, and sometimes accept even nothing, and end up into consolation. Risk takers are very daring. They want to go in for, and those are the people who are making the economy move. You look at most of the businesses here in Kampala. I don't want into name making, name whatever. But they are the makers of businesses. So I want to call upon, yes, it will depend on what you perceive to be unemployment. Especially if you have gone through books and you want to, maybe you have gone to university, now you wanted to exercise your degree. But the degree you have was not a degree which was taught to you to make money. It was a degree which was taught to you to spend. That's why you are always thinking of studying by paying. Now here you are out of a class. You are now an independent person. You need to work. What do you do? Think within. Think small, rise big. Poor dad, rich dad. How do you go through such stories in order to become successful?
Okay.
Take on every opportunity. Now, let me ask you. Have you ever seen some of those people who cry of unemployment, how they live? Some of them live a very luxurious lifestyle. Very luxurious. They are in the world of rivalism, competition. Ask. You have not asked me the category of crimes being committed, and I would even tell you that some of the youth who commit crime are people from very exposed families, are people from, they have even rich people. Do you know that we have a category of youth who call themselves tour? Tour, not tour the bus, tour these tour vans for tourists. No, they have nicknamed the tour because they hire taxes of tour nature and go to destabilize any function as long as they can go and steal from that function, even if it is up country. They can as well move from here, go to Mbarara, especially on weekend when they know there is a very posh wedding. And they have connections there, which will enable them to have prey on their victims by grabbing whatever. So would you say that those are people who are unemployed?
No.
If they can afford to have a tour company, if they can afford to have a tour van to make them move. There are those who have been given a lot of money by government. And right now, there are so many government programs. The youth livelihood schemes, the girl empowerment schemes, grow for women, youth empowerment scheme. Now, who are the beneficiaries of those people, of those skills? And what are you gaining from that? So sometimes when whatever we perceive as unemployment is a perception of the mindset. If you have such kind of mindset, which is stereotype, you'll definitely go to that direction.
Okay.
And as you go to that direction, you are going to a direction of disaster and distress.
So how can the youth be guided into constructive developments so they do not go for criminal offenses?
One is rethinking. Rethinking. As a youth, you live a life of a purpose.
Okay.
Have purpose of living. You know, we have a tendency of despising life. You even don't value life. Their slogans, many of our youth have tended to cope up in order to demean life. And that is not good. I've never heard of any person who has died of poverty if he has the head. And I have seen so many people who are even disabled at the international scale. I mean at the international level. They are disabled. You see somebody has no limbs. Somebody cannot walk. But somebody grows outside goes beyond that. And is a billionaire. You remember of one of the world cricket record, it was a South African who was involved in crime. The man was lame. He was lame. But what happened? We have so many leaders here who are disabled. But what is it? Because disability is not inability. But how can a youth with a head, with an eye, with the ears, with the hands, with the legs, end up using all his energies into crime? You are misusing your youthful energy and therefore saving nothing for your old age. Think about that. Purpose. What is your purpose of living?
Okay.
Secondly, be patient. Be trustworthy. Have a model person in your life. Say, I want to be like that young man on Family TV, the host. That becomes your model. And you'll want to know, to aspire, touching you, so that you go through your experience. But when you look at some of the youth and ask them, who is your model person in life? Ebyo mbuza byachi, ebyo binyamba chi. Twala eri ebyo bibuzo byamwe byokumalwalwa. Zenkola mere ya lero ngo. Now that kind of mere ya lero. Mere ya lero, you cannot have hands, legs, eyes and think about mere ya lero. No way. 3, that exorbitant lifestyle. Our lifestyle. Let me ask you. Okay. You are talking of youth being unemployed. How many people of my age do you find in those nightclubs? How many do you find them? Every time they are kissing bottles of beer, muchomo, what, they are all of the fancy places you can hear of. The latest, I even don't know. In my lifetime, I've never gone to a nightclub. It's not because I don't want, not because I cannot afford, but my lifestyle detested that. Because it has nothing to add value to me. I once tasted some beer, but one time I began questioning myself. Does the company from which I am buying this beer know me? Do I have some shares in that company? When I fall sick, do they really look for my medical whatever? Do they know me as their client? Upon getting no answers from those who are promoting their beer to my mouth, I discarded it.
You dropped it.
Totally.
Wow.
Totally. But you go, you are claiming to be unemployed. Day in, day out, you are competing with the beers to sleep in a nightclub. So how are you sleeping in a nightclub if indeed you don't have money? Who can tolerate you there in that nightclub? You are jumping on from one man to another, from one woman to another, and you don't even sleep in one house. Do you know that some of our youth, what do they begin with? They begin with a car. Nyagalaka. Motoka. But you are buying a car, you don't have even a place where it can sleep. So you are buying a car, you are buying fuel, you are renting for it where to sleep, you are even putting an askari to keep it. And do you know where they go? They are living in apartments. Apartments. And there is no apartment less than 1 million shillings. Are you poor? Now, whether I am sleeping on an apartment or I am sleeping in a rental of 150,000, when we all march on the street, here, the street of Kampala, who will be able to tell whether you sleep in an apartment or what? Or if I leave from my home and move on a boda or even in a taxi, but knowing that I am saving for something better in life, our lifestyle as youth. And when I talk like this, ogugwali mulembe gwo, guno mulembe gwaffe, gwali mulembe gwo, guno mulembe gwaffe, naye muli mukulya mulembe gwammwe, ate mugulya kivubi. You see the poor fishing practices in Lake Victoria. And all of those who are fending on Lake Victoria through fishing have no job. Equally so, when you misuse any little earning, you're like a fisherman in Lake Victoria.
Wow. That's interesting. Now, Fande, as we try to wind up, because I see time has started hitting us, what are the interventions police is bringing in to curb crime in society?
The biggest intervention is this one, and I want to thank you, because knowledge is power.
Oh, yeah.
Information is power. Those who have afforded to be on this show, I hope have contributed to your being. 2, intelligence-led operations, and that's why you can see we are identifying and harvesting some of those youths, especially in the wake of the festive season. You know, the festive season has started. You can see jingle bell is everywhere. People have now begun Christmas trees and all that. And then there is also, then the other one is after intelligence-led operations, holding meetings, sensitization meetings, stakeholders in LOCs, but also urging the LOCs to do registration of their members so that they can support us in identifying those who are involved. The other one is parenting. Please, my fellow Ugandans, if you desire to produce a child, stop thinking that myopism, mwana wa government, yes, but the first person who benefits from that child is you. The role of government is in protection. When we hear you are torturing your child, we shall come in for you. When we hear you have failed to meet your obligation, we shall come for you. But when you are doing the right thing, the end result and beneficiary in that child is you. Like I am here. Whom do I give pride to? My mother. And when my mother sees me on TV, says, Wuyo, bona mtabane wangu wuyo. Then others can come up, hey, wuyo, tumweni, hey, kumba lini. But whom do I give pride to? So please, if you are a parent and you want to have a responsible child, do your role, parenting. Let's, society, please, let's not lose out. Let's not lose out. Especially the elders. Let's not lose out. Let's try to encourage the youth to being responsible and doing that. Then, to the youth, please tap every opportunity that government has created for you. All the programs that government has put in place for you to empower you, to create opportunities of employment for you. Please go in for them. Start small, think big, and progress bigger.
Wow.
Lastly, stop misusing. You know, there is no free data on these phones. But let me ask you, those of you who claim to be unemployed, who buys for you data on these phones? And how useful do you use that data on your phone, smartphone, Sereza? you are buying a data of 10,000 a day or a week. How much are you contributing to your well-being? And if you are using it, what is the purpose of that data you have loaded on your phone? Is it for mobilization, demobilization, for creating employment? Because you see, there are some youth who create employment on social media. That is very good. That is something very positive. But how about those of you who use for committing crime? You are trafficking, you are mobilizing, you are causing what you call your own operations. Remember, like I've said, that some of you have apps here. We have learned to hack into your apps. And as we hack into them, we are getting and harvesting you. May the good Lord bless you. For God and my country.
Thank you so much, Commissioner of Police Anatooli Muleterwa, who is the head for community policing. And yes, the information has really been a lot, and I hope you have managed to pick one or two, and to me this one is actually an inspiration. You know, every Friday we bring in someone from the police to give us information about security, about what and what, but today it has been an inspiration. So I hope it has been impactful to your life, and make sure you make use of every information that has been delivered here. It is not you who is unemployed, it is just a mindset in you that you are unemployed. There are so many things that you can do, and through that you'll be able not to be idle, and which of course causes criminality in the country. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Luke Majumba Naitwe, and we have been powered by Protea Hotel by Marriott in Entebbe. Issues at hand will come back next week on Monday. Have a lovely weekend.
Issues at hand, powered by
Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe.